All right, hello again. We are 3 of 3. Excuse me. I'm tackling this one last because this one's probably going to get the most emotion out of me, and I wanted to be in a clear head. Again, sorry that I'm doing all these back to back to back, but life's been pretty busy. My nonprofit has been expanding, which is a good thing, of course, but it means I have less time to schizo rant on the internet and get put higher up on the registry or hit list of the FBI. This one's definitely going to elevate it. So I've heard, let's take a step back. I run a nonprofit for veterans. My nonprofit services one of the bigger counties in Illinois, and my sole focus is this. This is the only reason I exist right now. It's very good for me mentally, very good for me cathartically, and being a prior service member myself, I understand there's a unique insight I have that allows me to do this job more effectively. So that's what I do. I've heard from a lot of veterans some concern over the upcoming investigation and the DEI firings and all that stuff. Basically, everything that's upcoming for the VA. And I used to work for a VA. So I'm going to give you some anecdotal evidence. I'm going to give you my perspectives on this as a veteran and as someone who runs a nonprofit who works with VAs. And I'm also going to give you perspective as someone who doesn't receive benefits from the VA at all. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about, Trump has recently decided to let Doge, the Department of Government, I don't even remember the fuck it is, but Elon Musk and all them, he's going to go and he's basically going to investigate the VA, among other things. On top of that, anecdotal evidence, I know someone who's personally potentially going to get fired from the VA because of the whole DEI things and how they're trying to basically cut all the people who don't really need to be there, right? Well, everyone's main concern, of course, is, hey, I'm a veteran, I get benefits, and now you're telling me that my hospital is going to have less people. So now my meeting my doctor takes even longer. Now my return phone calls are even longer. My scheduling, my planning, my pharmacy, my x-rays, all that's just going to take longer, right? Well, I can't lie to you and say no. But what I can tell you is a lot of the things that are going to happen, and I'm telling you that they are probably going to happen, is not on the hospital system side. Okay. So this is where my insight is from working at a VA. I used to work for the Raymond G. Murphy VA over in New Mexico. This was during the pandemic, so my experiences are a little bit colored by that. Just because every hospital system was very overwhelmed during that time period. I've worked in 2 civilian hospitals before, worked at the VA during that time period, so I'm well versed. However, there is a consistent inconsistency with the veteran population in regards to the VA. Some of them are absolute garbage. Some of them are fucking outstanding. I had the very fortunate pleasure of working at what I would consider a relatively good VA, even during the pandemic. So that should tip you off right there that now post-pandemic, it should be fucking outstanding. There were people who gave their all during that time period, myself included. There were people who checked out and sucked. You're going to get it everywhere, okay? What I'm hoping will happen with this government insight and just evaluation is that the people who've consistently underperformed are the first to go. The people who need work get reprimanded or get motivated, get incentivized to start working more. And the people who are doing good work are rewarded and compensated fairly. Because unfortunately, there were some people, and I could call names, but I've been out for a couple of years now from this VA, so I don't really know who's still there. All the people who I talk to, actually, I don't talk to anymore. All my coworkers, essentially. So I'm not going to name names in this situation. If it does come to the point, I will. There are 3 people I know who worked on or in my floor who could benefit from being reprimanded. I won't say outright fired because I don't know what their experience was. All of them had been working there longer than I have. So maybe they got burnt out from the pandemic. Maybe they were going through family issues and they took it to work. I don't know. I don't care. All right. I give everyone the benefit of the doubt. But we only had 14 people working on my floor because it was a very small ward. And I just said 3 of them could have benefited from a reprimand. Statistically, what is that, 17%? 18%? Less than a quarter. Good, but not great. Scale that. Scale that to a national level. And I'm not being generous. These people could benefit from a reprimand. They did not need to be fired, but they did need to be incentivized and motivated to work harder to be better at their job. So you're going to tell me on a national level that there aren't people who deserve that? And then by extrapolation, you're going to tell me that there are people who aren't just absolutely fucking abysmal at their job and just sit there to collect a federal fucking paycheck? They need to go. And what's going to be surprising to a lot of people, or at least was for me, both as a veteran who was trying to gain benefits and then a veteran who worked at a VA. There's 2 different systems. There's a hospital system, which is what most people kind of associate with, and then there's the administrative paperwork side of the VA. Those are the people who do your initial assessment, and they basically go through your records and figure out how disabled are you, how much do we owe you. Okay? That's what the mentality should be. How much did our military fuck you up that we need to compensate you? But there are people who don't view it like that. I personally, unfortunately, have met and worked with those people. It's more frustrating when they are veterans versus when they're not, because I come from a perspective of one team, one fight. I've had this well before I've started running my nonprofit, but it has been reinforced substantially since running my nonprofit. I don't care how much ball busting we do when we're in branch. When you get out, we all serve. We all can raise our head higher above the civilian populace. As we all like to fucking say, we hold the standard. We maintain the standard. Okay. So when your prejudices and your personal biases influence your work decision, that's not acceptable. It happens in the military, and it's unfortunate that it happens there. But now, you may be preventing someone with serious medical conditions because of bad paperwork, the inability to benefit from their service, to earn to be given what was already earned when wearing the uniform. That's beyond frustrating. That needs correction. That needs office hours, captain's mast level correction. And you know what? I'm okay with those people losing their jobs. I'm okay with our system taking slightly longer to process disability claims when it already takes months, if not sometimes years, because this is the seeding. And in the future, our plants will grow and we will benefit so much more. I don't know what business hiring is like, okay? I've never been in a position where I need to hire someone or I'm given the opportunity to interview and then hire people to my staff. But what I will say, in the years of me working in multiple systems, in multiple organizations, everything sounds good on paper until you put it in practice. And there are so many people who seem extremely qualified to be in the positions they are, and they get to where they are and they impede the process. And then there's even worse things that happen. There's people who are not qualified, but because of something like a DEI practice, or, and this is going to ruffle feathers, and I'm sorry to fucking tell you, there are programs within the VA that hire veterans. And sometimes those veterans shouldn't be in the workforce. Sometimes those veterans may have experienced something in the military that you would think makes them capable to work in XYZ environment, but that's not the case. And I'll make it pretty fucking easy. I'm kind of talking about myself here and that because I was a Quad Zero hospital corpsman. And before 2018, which is when I got out, if you got through Corps School, you didn't get anything from it. I passed National Registry because I wanted to. I sought that out. I was one of 3 people in 4 graduating classes that had gotten their National Registry EMT certification. One of 3. When Army 68 Whiskey, Air Force Medtechs, they get it. They have to pass National Registry as a baseline in order for them to graduate and get into the force, fleet, whatever. So that sets them up for a smaller but still obtainable level of success when they transition out of the military. It gives them a career path and accessibility. The Navy didn't do that until 2018. I went through Corps School in 2016. I let my NREMT status lapse, and I would have to go back to school if I wanted to. But because of the pandemic, I was still allowed an opportunity to go and work in the medical side on the lowest scope possible. And I was okay with that because I just wanted to serve. I just wanted to help. But still let that sink in, right? There are potentially people who are working in the medical field right now who barely have any education, any certification whatsoever to be in that. And that's not on the low side. I mean, I wish it was. There are physicians who should not have their doctorate. There are nurse practitioners who should not be able to advance upwards. This is not just from the VA. This is from the medical side in general. But if the medical side in general has this problem, and I've just already told you I've personally met people in the VA who shouldn't be where they are, you're going to see that it comes together no matter what. And having someone come in and take a look at the system and evaluate it is not a bad thing. And at the end of the day, like I said, your disability claim is going to take months to years anyway. That's how the system operates. And it's fucking aggravating. Too many people in positions of power have let the system get as broken as it has. And unfortunately, too many people who've exploited and overutilized the system have made it so your average veteran has to struggle to get what they've earned. I'm sorry. It's the way the world works. Maybe this is an opportunity for us to start fixing those mistakes. Because now I'm going to give you the perspective of someone who is not eligible for benefits. Because I was a Navy reservist and I didn't have enough active duty time, though I served 2.5 years. My transition out of service was very abrupt and led to very serious mental and physical decline. I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the loving support of my ex-wife, and she's my ex now for a reason, because she couldn't give me anymore. She couldn't support me anymore. Psilocybin microdosing treatments. The love and support of my brothers and sisters who had served. And my internal personal drive to not let people get as low as I got. Do you have any idea how much I would have benefited from being in the VA? From just getting something? I'm not asking for enough compensation so I don't have to work. I'm not asking for medicine because I think I have an issue. I had attempted suicide 3 times in the 9 years I've been out. Well, not 9 years. 7 years. 9 years since it's 9 years since I went in, 7 years since I got out. You don't think maybe veterans in situations like that are the ones who really need the help? I don't know. I physically cannot say being ineligible for benefits. And I am ineligible. Got my final appeal denied in October 2023. I think you can guess one of those 3 times that I tried to leave this world when one of them was. So I look at the system and I know it's inherently broken. And there's a lot that can be done to fix it, but it's going to be slow and steady progress. And I personally, truly believe in evaluation of the system and cutting of some of this. I'm not even just talking about the DEI shit, okay? Like, I've actually purposely not really brought it up much because I don't think that's the real issue. if you watch this entire thing, what I'm trying to explain to you is that this has been a systemic problem for a long time. And it all stems because the government really doesn't want to give us anything. And we have to accept that. There's reasons why there's hoops. There's reason why there's delays. And there's reasons why we have to have fallen brothers sacrifice themselves for the benefits that we get. We have to wait until 60 years after Blue Water Navy had consistent exposure to Agent Orange in Vietnam, finally get an act passed, which then led to an expedition of the PACT Act from all the Gulf War and GWOT era veterans who had suffered horrific experiences with smoke inhalation from the burn pits. How many people died during that time period from these diseases? I personally know one. I personally know one who died from Agent Orange exposure from being on a ship, who didn't get any benefits because he literally passed away the year the Blue Navy Act had passed. What the fuck, man? How can you seriously tell me that the VA is doing everything they can when I can physically point to someone who didn't benefit? And then not only can I point at them, I can point at myself. I don't benefit. So I'm not expecting any of this to somehow resolve itself in a way that I get benefits. There's a reason why the system is in place the way that it is. Do I think it needs modernization? Absolutely. But it's baby steps. It's gradual, and it's going to take a long period of time before we as veterans really get the proper treatment and all the things that we deserve. The way that we have to look at it now is that, and I'm not even a parent when I say this, we have to look at it as progress for our children. We have to look at it as progress for our brothers and sisters who are going to serve in the next few years. Because we may not benefit from everything that's going on now, but years from now, they'll be able to transition out of service. They'll have a proper working TAPS. They'll have a good transition experience. They'll have a seamless integration of their documented medical injuries from in service go directly to the VA post-service, and they'll have eligibility instantly. They'll have their disability percentage substantially faster. They'll be able to receive the proper treatment and care they need that much faster. And all we have to do is sacrifice just a little bit more of our time now. I kind of think it's fair trade. But maybe I have an outside perspective because I don't benefit. I'm not getting anything. But I can tell you this, from my time of working in the VA, the veterans that I interacted with, the veterans I worked with, 99% of them would come in and they'd be like, no, worry about my brothers first. Like, you're busy, go check on them first. How selfless are we? We keep passing the buck to the next person because we feel they need it more than us. Well, I'm calling us out on that, okay? The experiences I had in the military and the experiences I had working at the VA, I'm calling out right here, right now. If we truly believe that, then this shouldn't be an issue. And a lot of the vets that I've worked with in the VA and now even in my nonprofit are still like that. Don't worry about me. Help the next person. Well, it's going to come down the back end. Because once we have helped that person, we're going to get to you. And I just sincerely hope we get to you before you pass. You just got to give them a little bit of time, a little bit of trust. And full disclosure here, if this leads to veterans losing their disability percentages, to increased wait times to an unfathomable amount, if there is any serious repercussions or fallouts from something like this, we know who to hold accountable. And we have the skill set to fix that. So do you think they're really going to let it get that bad? That would not be wise. And I can tell you firsthand, it would be very violent if they did. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt and let's try and be supportive. Because if it doesn't work out the way that it needs to, veterans are going to become a lot more proactive. And we'll see how the government feels about that. But that's my perspective on it. Didn't mean for it to get dark like that towards the end, but I think I'm saying what a lot of people have been thinking. And I think that, of all things, is definitely what will finally trigger us to be more responsive in the community. So, thank you very much for sitting through this. What's your perspective on it? How do you feel it's all going to go down? Let me know. Stay safe out there.